Reconstruction, created by Cristal, Anna, Olivia, Casey, and Matt.
Reconstruction is the process of rebuilding the South after the Civil War. This process began shortly after the fall of the Confederacy and continued on for around 12 years. Reconstruction began during the Civil War and ended in 1877. The Reconstruction plan of Andrew Johnson was rejected because he believed in punishing the seceded states. At first, Reconstruction was viewed as an area of competition and misgovernment before it reached improvement. For all Americans, Reconstruction was a time of social, economic, and political change. The Civil War didn't begin as total war, but it became one fast. 650,000 men died during the war, including 260,000 Confederates, a very significant loss. Emancipation proclamations were issued in January 1863 and authorized the enlistment of black soldiers. As the Union Army occupied Southern territory, slaves by the thousands abandoned plantations, causing a slow in cultivation. Achieving civil rights for freed slaves was not an easy accomplishment. Many Southerners did all they could to hold freedom after the war, often resulting in mayhem. Most of, but not all, violence against the blacks was at the fault of the civilians. In attempt to prove their point against blacks, Lincoln was more than willing to help the South join back into the Union.
Congress retained the right to decide whether or not to seat the senators and representatives Southern from the states. Lincoln based the proclamation of his belief that secession should be illegal and thus all southern states must remain in the Union. By the end of the war, Republicans saw several goals accomplished when Congress passed the new amendments officially abolishing slavery throughout the Union in 1870. The amendments also gave Congress power to enforce ambition. President Andrew Johnson trued Lincoln's moderate Reconstruction policies after Lincoln's assassination in April 1865. In May of that year, in an attempt to continue his plan, he granted amnesty and pardons, including the restoration of all proper rights, except for slaves, to all former Confederates. Johnson, however, failed to provide for the millions of slaves who suddenly found themselves free men and women after Reconstruction was through. The period of Reconstruction officially came to an end when newly President Rutherford Hayes pulled the last of the Federal troops out of the South in 1877.